Hey, Nuclear Dad Gang. Hello and welcome back. I am E.C. McKeever, aka the Nuclear Dad, and I am your tour guide and your host. And today on our travels, we are getting into solitude, why it's important, the benefits of it, the benefits of not having some alone time. And this all ties back into the series, the theme of this season, which is mental health and well-being and creating the better you from the inside out. So with no further ado, I'm going to keep this intro short. You know the rules. Sit back, get comfortable, put your feet up, get something cold to drink, get something to snack on, and we'll be right back in a couple of TikToks. All right, Nuclear Dads, and we are back. So again, this episode 6, season 2, episode 6, we are talking about solitude. And I'm going to start this a little differently. I'm going to start off with talking about samurai, particularly Ronin warriors. If you've never heard of it, I'm going to do a little research. I'll let you get a feel for what it is and why it plays a part. Because I want you guys to become noblemen. I want you to become modern Ronin warriors with a twist. Because as I'll explain, you'll start to understand why I say with a twist. Now, the Ronin warriors or the samurai. Samurai is it's derived from something called Bushido, right? And Bushido is translated from Japanese as the way of the warrior. It's a moral code concerning samurai attitudes, but over here we say datitudes, right? Now, these attitudes, behaviors, and lifestyles, there are multiple Bushido types which evolved significantly throughout history. Contemporary forms of Bushido are still used in social and economic organizations of Japan. Bushido is used as an overarching term for all of the codes, practices, philosophies, and principles in the samurai culture. It's loosely analogous to the European concept of chivalry, but there are major differences. Now, Bushido formalized the early samurai moral codes and ethic codes, most commonly stressing a combination of sincerity, frugality, loyalty, martial arts mastery, and honor until death. Born from Neo-Confucianism during times of peace in the Edo period, this is circa 1603 to 1868, and following the Confucian texts, while also being influenced by Shinto and Zen Buddhism. It allowed the violent existence of the samurai to be tempered by wisdom, patience, and sincerity. Now, the Bushido developed between the 16th and 20th centuries, debated by pundits who believed that they were building on a legacy dating back to the 10th century. Along the term Bushido itself is rarely attested in pre-modern literature. The ethical code took shape with the rise of the warrior caste to power at the end of the Heian period. And this is the year 794 to 1185. So this goes back centuries. And the establishment of the first shogunate, this is in the 1100s through the 1300s. So it was developed further during the, I can't even pronounce that word, Muromachi period. This is the 1300s through the 1500s, and formally defined and applied in law by Tokugawa shogunates in the Edo period. There is no strict definition, and interpretations of the code have varied over time. Bushido has undergone many changes throughout Japanese history, and various Japanese clans interpret it in their own way, which is why I said we are going to utilize this in becoming better men, but with a twist. We don't live in Japan. We don't follow Japanese culture, but America is the land of amalgamation. That's a good word. America is the land of amalgamation. So we can bring some of these tenets and some of these ethics into our daily life, because things like sincerity, frugality, loyalty, martial arts mastery, and honor, you don't have to be a Confucianist. Is that a word? Confucianist? You don't have to be a Confucianist or a Buddhist to adopt these, because On this side we follow Christ, like I say all the time, but these are some of the same things that he taught and he preached. And these are the same things that we follow over here at the Nuclear Dad. Now, when it comes to Ronin means a drifter or a wanderer. It's a samurai without a lord or a master. Now, during the feudal period of Japan, they had these things called feudal lords, where it was basically men of nobility, lords, who fought for territory. And they had military men who served them as, personal guard and things like that. But when the master died, the warrior was expected to commit seppuku. Seppuku is a ritual suicide. Without a master, you have no purpose. But some of these guys broke the code and decided, nah, I ain't offering myself. So they became Ronin. And a lot of times they were disgraced because people knew that they didn't have a master. They wandered the lands in search of work, in search of food. And just like regular samurai, they carried 2 swords. Now, according to the Bushido Shoshinshu, the code of the warrior, a samurai was supposed to commit this. Hey, I know what I'm talking about. A samurai was supposed to commit seppuku, belly cutting. It's a form of ritual suicide upon the loss of his master. One who did not honor the code was on his own and was meant to suffer great shame. The undesirability of Ronin status was mainly a discrimination imposed by other samurais and by the feudal lords. Like other samurais, the Ronins wore 2 swords, and they used a variety of other weapons as well. Some Ronin, usually those who lacked money, would carry a bow staff. It's like a walking stick, a staff or a smaller walking stick. Most weapons will reflect the Ryu martial arts school. If you ever play Street Fighter, Ryu or Ryu just means martial arts school. It's a nugget. So during the Edo period, with the shogunate rigid class of systems and laws, the number of Ronin greatly increased. Confiscation of fiefs during the rule of the third Tokugawa shogun resulted in an especially large increase of Ronin. During previous ages, samurais were able to move between masters and even between occupations. They could also marry between classes. However, during the Edo period, samurais were restricted and were above all forbidden to become employed by another master without their previous master's position. Because the former samurai could not legally take up a new trade, or because of pride where they were loath to do so, many Ronin looked for other ways to make a living with their swords. These Ronins who desired steady legal employment became mercenaries that guarded trade caravans or bodyguards for wealthy merchants. Other Ronins became criminals operating as bandits and highwaymen or joining organized crime in towns and cities. Ronin were known to operate or serve as hired muscle for gangs that ran gambling rings, brothels, protection rackets, and similar activities. Many were petty thieves and muggers. This is from Wikipedia. The criminal segments gave the Ronin of the Edo period a persistent reputation of disgrace, with an image of thugs, bullies, cutthroats, and wandering vagrants. After the abolition of the samurai, some of the Ronin continued their thuggery and their mercenary work and activities, such as taking part in the infamous assassination of, Queen Min in the Joseon Dynasty in 1895. Okay, so that's enough about them. But like I said, we are going to become solo warriors. And the idea of the Nuclear Dad is for us to link up like Voltron. But in times of us not being linked together, when this podcast isn't on, when you don't get a chance to listen to this, you still have to live your life, right? And you have to live. Every man needs a code. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what you do. I don't care how you were raised. I don't care where you live currently. Every man needs a code. Any man without a code is not a man. I don't care what they say. I don't care what you hear. I don't care what the media says. I don't care what society says. Every man must have a code. And with that being said, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and we're going to get into solitude, because The reason I chose the Ronin theme is because they were men without masters. And I believe the only master that you should have is your creator. I don't tell anyone to serve any man, except for the man in the mirror, like Michael Jackson said. So, with that being said, my fellow warriors, you know the drill. Take a break. It'll be a minute or two for me, but it'll be a split second for you. And we'll come back and we will talk about why solitude is important and what you can do during these periods of solitude to become the greatest warrior that you can be in order to serve yourself better, be a better husband, be a better father, and be a better overall member of this community, the society, and the global environment as well. Alrighty, gentlemen. Now, I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down. I hope you're following where I'm going with this. And we're gonna this episode I'm hoping to keep around the 30-minute mark. I told my wife I would be back in 30 minutes. That was like 30 minutes ago. But we still got a ways to go, and I'm not gonna leave you hanging. So right now I'm on a site, and this is an article about personal growth, and it says, in search of solitude, the importance of spending time alone. All a man's miseries derive from not being able to sit quietly in a room alone. And this is by Blaise Pascal. That's a quote. Modern society has developed some negative associations with the idea of being alone. When kids misbehave, parents send them to their rooms to sit in silence as a punishment for their bad behavior. Staying at home alone on a Friday night or Saturday night is frowned upon. You'll be considered a loser for doing so, and your friends would ask if you're okay. We've been wired to believe that solitude is our enemy. We also confuse being alone with being lonely, but that, of course, is not the case. Being alone doesn't necessarily cause loneliness, and many people can feel lonely despite being in constant presence of other people. Author Amy Morin describes it best when she says, loneliness is about perceiving that no one is there for you, but solitude is about making a choice to be alone with your thoughts. Facts, Amy. Truth is, solitude is necessary for our well-being and potential success. Every year, Bill Gates, who takes 2 think weeks to spend them alone in a cabin in the woods, he does it to escape the noise, read books, reflect on his progress, and engage in a deeper creative thought. Sidebar, I took 11 days off of work, technically 2 business weeks, for that exact reason. Now, I am going to spend time alone because my wife will be at work and my kids will be at school, but I'm knocking out episodes. I'm writing books. I'm taking naps. I'm going to take some baths. I'm going to do some self-care. I might see the chiropractor, but I'm getting my ish together. About 6 months after my accident, I took some time off for myself. Now, this is the writer speaking. I didn't have an accident. About 6 months after my accident, I took some time off for myself. I flew to Sri Lanka on a solo trip and spent a week on a silent retreat. It was a bold and scary, and as an extreme extrovert, I never thought in my entire life that I would one day be committing to a week of silence. But that experience was eye-opening. It set me on a path for greater self-awareness and gave me a much better idea of where I wanted to take my life. I left the week in a peaceful state of mind. Remember that? Inner peace. With more clarity and 3 clear goals I wanted to accomplish. And I did. She reads a little bit more, they go on a little bit more, but let's skip down. The benefits of solitude. Research has come to prove that there are several long-term benefits of solitude. It allows you to learn more about yourself and find your own voice. It empowers you to become more comfortable with who you are. It boosts your creativity. It gives you an opportunity to plan your life. It improves your mental well-being. Now, they talk about how to spend time alone. Meditate, write in a journal, set goals, reflect on your goals, pay attention to your emotions. Solitude is the key to higher self-awareness, which opens the door to change. This is true. Here's a quote by Rumi. Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I'm changing myself. And Rumi got bars. That's a fact. I like that. I'm bookmarking it. Next article. This is from Forbes. 7 science-backed reasons why you should spend more time alone. Alone time increases empathy. It increases productivity. It sparks creativity. It can help you build mental strength. May reduce behavior problems in kids. Being alone gives you an opportunity to plan your life. That keeps coming up. It helps you know yourself. And that's it. Number 7 helps you know yourself. And it just says get proactive about spending time alone. Yeah, that's why we're here. Thank you, Forbes. I'm not going to read all of the stuff in between. I just want to give you the nuts and bolts. And we're going to talk more about this Ronin stuff. The benefits of being alone. While it is enjoyable to be with others and share experiences, there are definite benefits to spending time alone. Of course, being connected to people is important for your happiness and well-being, but it's also critical to balance social time with time spent alone. It is important to use this time to think about your feelings, ideas, hopes, problems, and all your experiences. This time spent alone creates space for you to come up with your own perspectives and ideas and how you think and feel about the things that are happening in your life and relationships. Alone means alone. So that means, when you say you're going to spend some time alone, you're going to be, listen, when I come down to the danger room, whether I am painting, whether I'm just reading, reflecting, recording the show, my wife will call me sometimes for something, sometimes for nothing. And I have to remind her, when I'm here, I'm at work. Treat it as if I'm in the office. If you know I have a client booked from 11 to 12, you can't call me at 11:20 and say, hey, can you bring me some water? No. Shoot me a text. When I'm done, I'll get back to you. Alone means alone. Know yourself. Come up with solutions. No judgment. When you're alone, you are free to try things that you may feel uncomfortable trying for the first time in front of other people. Being alone leaves you free of judgment. Dance, sing, play an instrument, do magic, play cards, well, at least solitaire, or build something. You can try out new things without being nervous of what others might think. Imagine. Another thing you can do alone without judgment is letting your imagination go wild. Do you have a crazy idea about a piece of art or an invention? You can test things out. Try and fail and try again. When you're by yourself and when others aren't there to influence you. Reboot. If we spend most of our time with others, we always have to be on time. So time is spent alone. Wait a minute. I'm not even going to read that. I'm going to reset. I'm going to reboot. If we spend most of our time with other people, we always have to be on. Time spent alone is a great way to recharge and slow down for a bit. This also makes being with others more enjoyable since we've had time to rest and can be more relaxed. You'll feel better when you've had time to reboot, and people will probably find you more fun and nice to be around too. And limit your distractions. Exactly. I put my phone on airplane mode, like I just said. Love my wife, but when I'm here, she can be a distraction. She knows it. There's no love lost. I just gotta bring her back to reality. Baby, it's me time. I'm talking to the dads over here. I'm talking to the nuclear dads. So, limit distractions. Plain and simple. You get more done when you're alone. Do you have a lot of things on your plate? When you limit distractions, you can more easily check things off of your to-do list. When you get your important personal responsibilities accomplished alone, you have more attention to give during group assignments and tasks. You will be more present with others if you have spent some time alone getting things done. Another article. Let's see. Some people can go for a walk or listen to music and feel that they are deeply in touch with themselves. Others cannot. This article is pretty lengthy, and I'm not going to read it because it's not what I thought it was. 5 benefits of solitude. In today's overly connected 24/7 society, it can be difficult to find quality time with your spouse, kids, and friends, let alone yourself. But carving out some quiet me time, should be on everyone's priority list. And even a few minutes flying solo can deliver big benefits. Solitude is an intentional period of time set aside to reconnect with yourself, says Rachel Astarte, psychotherapist, certified life coach, and author of Celebrating Solitude: How to Discover and Honor Your Highest Self, Green Oracle Press, copyright 2012. Ideally, it is designed to recharge your batteries so that you can give back to the world. Who remembers when I said I take a nap every day at work to recharge my batteries? I know what I'm talking about. For some people, however, solitude is uncomfortable. Maybe you have FOMO, that's fear of missing out if you don't know, or feel guilty prioritizing yourself over others, or equate being alone to being punished, i.e. being sent to your room as a kid. Regardless, Astarte recommends giving it a go. Here's why. You'll gain clarity. You'll boost creativity. You'll reduce stress. You'll connect with your spirituality. You'll renew your energy. How to go it alone? Go offline. Put down your phone and disconnect from social media. This serves the continual inundation of others' energy and allows you to properly connect to your own. Pick a place, danger room, hint, hint. Create a space for yourself for your solo practice, such as a spot outdoors where you can reconnect to nature, or a quiet room in your home. Find your joy. Do what you love to do most during this time with yourself, whether it's reading, dancing, sketching, meditating, taking a bath, or going on a long walk. Write it out, journaling, release your guilt. So these nerds basically said what I'm saying and what I've been saying throughout the series. But, sometimes you need to hear it from one source, which is why I bring you guys the data. And that serves the purpose of giving you some voices that are not my own. So you can be like, hey, you know what? I never thought of it like that. Or, all of these things he's reading, all of these data points, all of these articles, a lot of them are saying the same thing. They're saying the same thing he's saying. Maybe this guy knows what he's talking about. Adds a little bit of validity and weight to the statements that I'm making and the reasons why I'm telling you to do certain things. Now, we're going to take a quick break, real quick, split second, and we're going to come back and we're going to get into this Ronin stuff and we're going to wrap it up. Okay, guys, now we are going to learn how to become samurai, or Ronin. The samurai were a renowned warrior class in pre-modern Japan, remembered for their fierce fighting style and strict discipline. The samurai embodied the warrior spirit and are still revered even to this day. That's why we're talking about them. Here's the thing. You may not be able to get away with wielding a sharp sword in public or wearing a full suit of armor to work. That probably won't go too well. But the good news is that there are lots of other ways in which you can emulate the samurai and use their lessons to become a better version of yourself. So let's get to it and explore the key characteristics of a modern day samurai warrior. Meditation. Develop your warrior code. Train your body. Eat healthy. Serve others. Practice mindfulness. Foster creativity. Keep learning. And strive for mastery. Now, I'm going to read a little something that actually PBS has up. Samurai warriors emerged as an elite fighting force in Japan's provinces during the early 10th century. Recruited by local chieftains, these fighting forces were maintained long enough to wage a specific war, after which the soldiers would return to their lands to till the soil. With Japan's emperor living in the ancient capital of Kyoto and unable to maintain control of provinces, the samurai clans established themselves as a viable political entity or entities. By the late 12th century, samurai lords ruled both the provinces and central Japan. They maintained their influence until the mid-1870s, when the samurai class was outlawed and their privilege status was dissolved. The rigorous training of a samurai warrior began in childhood. Samurai school was a unique combination of physical training, Chinese studies, poetry, and spiritual discipline. The young warriors studied kendo, the way of the sword, the moral code of the samurai in Zen Buddhism. Samurai were expected to live according to Bushido, the way of the warrior, a strict ethical code influenced by Confucianism that stressed loyalty to one's master, respect for one's superior, ethical behavior in all aspects of life, and complete self-discipline. Girls also received martial arts training. Although most samurai women did not fight on the battlefield, they were prepared to defend their homes against invaders. The samurai attached great importance to the circumstance of their own death. If a samurai died of his own accord, it was considered a valiant end. Rather than suffer defeat or humiliation at the hands of an enemy, samurai warriors often chose ritual suicide, seppuku. After Tokugawa united Japan, samurai military services were rarely needed, though they continued to train daily. Samurai gradually transformed from warriors to bureaucrats, and townspeople acquired new wealth. The samurai, barred from engaging in commerce, found themselves in dire circumstances. For many samurais, peace led to despair. Now, this talks about wardrobe and hair, and we don't have to get into the kimonos and how certain kimonos depicted social status and class and all of that, and the type of swords, and we don't have to get into that. But I will tell you, in all areas of life, dress the part. Now, it's okay to have a dress down day, but the world looks at you differently dependent on the uniform you wear. So for my young fellas out there, if you are riding in a car and it's 5 of you and 4 of your friends, and the music is loud, that's noise pollution. If you get pulled over and the cops see that you have on backwards hats, now, I'm not judging you, but society definitely does. If the cops see you have backwards hats and they ask you to get out of the car, and back in my day, your pants would be baggy, but now they'd be tight, and your underwear would be showing, and your shirt would probably be a size too small, because everything has to be fitted. What I'm saying is, the world judges you by the uniform that you wear. And these samurais, when they weren't in full armor, they dress like men of nobility, men of great character. This is what I'm telling you to do. Without all of the filler, dress according to how you want the world to address you. Address, see the commonalities? So along with the code that we must develop, part of that code is the attire that you wear. I'm talking to grown men here. Dress like grown men. Now, again, I probably will have a reference to this in every episode I do, or close to every episode. I used to be a rapper. I used to dress the part. Hats, braids, dreadlocks, jerseys, baggy pants, Timberland boots, guns, all of that. Jewelry, watches, earrings, chains. I did all of that. And then I grew up. Now, hip-hop is 50 years old. And this is the only genre where it's acceptable for a 70-year-old man to dress like he's still 19. Now, I'm not saying you can't dress like that. You can do whatever you want to do. But for the men that I am talking to specifically, there may be times to wear that. But if you're going to handle business, you need to dress accordingly. Again, I don't care what you do, but the world does. I'm not judging you on how you look. The world is. So I'm preparing you for any negative circumstances that come in the form of judgment based on your appearance. Take it how you will. So when we talk about the code of the samurai, there's a couple of things. The rectitude of justice being the first one. Bushido not only refers to a martial rectitude, but a personal rectitude. Rectitude of justice is the strongest virtue of Bushido. All well-known samurais define it this way. Rectitude is one's power to decide upon a course of conduct in accordance with reason without wavering, to die when to die is right, to strike when to strike is right. Another speaks of it in the following terms. Rectitude is the bones that give firmness and stature. Without bones, the head cannot rest atop the spine. nor the hands move nor feet stand. So without rectitude, neither talent nor learning can make the human frame into a samurai. Rectitude is the foundation. Courage. Bushido distinguishes between bravery and courage. Courage is worthy of being counted among virtues only if it's exercised in the cause of righteousness and rectitude. In his Analects, Confucius says, perceiving what is right and doing it not reveals a lack of courage. In short, courage is doing what is right. Benevolence or mercy. A man invested with the power to command and the power to kill was expected to demonstrate equally extraordinary powers of benevolence and mercy. Love, affection for others, sympathy, pity, there are traits of benevolence. The highest attribute of the human soul. Both Confucius and Mencius often said the highest requirement of a ruler of men is benevolence. Politeness, discerning the difference between, I don't even know this word, obsequiousness? I don't know this word. And politeness, discerning the difference between obsequiousness and politeness can be difficult for casual visitors to Japan, but for a true man, courtesy is rooted in benevolence. Courtesy and good manners have been noted by every foreign tourist as distinctive Japanese traits, but politeness should be the expression of a benevolent regard to the feelings of others. It's a poor virtue if it's motivated only by fear of offending good taste. In its highest form, politeness approaches love, honesty, and sincerity. True samurai, according to an author, disdain money, believing that men must grudge money, for riches hinders wisdom. Thus, children of high-ranking samurai were raised to believe that talking about money showed poor taste. Think about that. Talking about money shows poor taste, not having it. And that ignorance of the value of different coins showed good breeding. Bushido encouraged thrift, not for economical reasons so much as for the exercise of abstinence. Luxury was thought the greatest menace to manhood, and severe simplicity was required of the warrior class. The counting machine and abacus were aboard. So they didn't even think about money in the way that we think about money. They thought about survival, living frugally, but I'm pretty sure they had books where they had amounts written down, and maybe they referred to it once a year, maybe once every 10 years. As the kids say, they had stacks of cash, because they were paid for their service. So money is a tool to be used when needed, not to flaunt, not to belittle, not to boost yourself. Money is simply a tool. Whether it's $1 or $100 bill, we don't serve money. We serve righteousness. Honor. Though Bushido deals with the profession of soldiering, it is equally concerned with non-martial behavior. The sense of honor, a vivid consciousness of personal dignity and worth characterized the samurai. He was born and bred to value the duties and privileges of his profession. Fear of disgrace hung like a sword over the head of every samurai. To take offense at slight provocation was ridiculed as short-tempered. Remember anger management, fellas. As a popular adage put it, true patience means bearing the unbearable. Loyalty. Economic reality has dealt a blow to organizational loyalty around the world. Nonetheless, true men remain loyal to those whom they are indebted. Loyalty to a superior was the most distinctive virtue of the feudal era. Personal fidelity exists amongst all sorts of men. A gang of pickpocketers swear allegiance to its leader, but only the code of the chivalrous honor does loyalty assume paramount importance? Only in the code of chivalrous honor does loyalty assume paramount importance. And what did they say today? There's no honor amongst thieves. They just said pickpocketers were loyal to their leaders. Now, sure. See how well that goes over. Bushido teaches men that they should behave according to an absolute moral standard, one that transcends logic. What is right, and what is wrong is wrong. The difference between good and bad and between right and wrong are givens, not arguments subject to discussion or justification, and a man should know the difference. Finally, it's a man's obligation to teach his children moral standards through the model of his own behavior. The first objective of samurai education was to build up character. The subtler faculties of prudence, intelligence, and dialectics were less important. Intellectual superiority was esteemed, but a samurai was essentially a man of action. No historian would argue that Hideyoshi personified the 8 virtues of Bushido throughout his life. Like many great men, deep faults paralleled his towering gifts. Yet by choosing compassion over confrontation and benevolence over belligerence, he demonstrated ageless qualities of manliness. Today, his lessons could not be more timely. Now, this is from a website I love. It's called The Art of Manliness. I've been reading this since, honestly, for like 12 years. It started when I was in a bad relationship. If you listen to part 1, you get the inside joke. But it started when I was in a bad relationship. I was a kid. I thought, I wasn't man enough. And this is why I have relationship issues. And I found out that while I may have had faults, I wasn't the problem. Hence why I'm no longer with this person. No shots, no shade, just the truth. So there you have it, fellas. That is the code of the samurai. And with this code, us modern men in the West, in America, are not traditional samurai in the sense that we were not trained as children on how to be this. We live in a society that puts money and material objects above everything. Ill-tempered mannerisms are justified and praised, and negativity is honored when it's actually dishonorable according to this code. And while we are not Confucianists, well, most of us aren't. Some of you may be Buddhists. This is no knock against what you choose to serve, but we know where I stand. And that is who we serve. That is who I serve. So my master is not one of flesh and blood. My loyalty is to my creator first, and then my family second, and then myself third. But in doing that, I owe a debt to my creator and to my family to build up the foundations and the infrastructure of me from the inside out. And I am encouraging you to do the same. Which is why we are Ronin. Because we don't serve men of flesh and blood. We serve principles of spirit. And we work through flesh and blood in honor of that spirit and these principles. So, yeah, you already know what I'm going to say. I'm going to come up with some things based off of this. But that brings us to a close. So, as always, there's a few things that you must remember. Remember your mission. Remember why you do what you do. Remember to stay focused. Remember to stay diligent. Remember to stay dangerous. Remember to stay honorable. Remember to keep the code. And most importantly, remember to stay cool.